Hey guys and girls, welcome to Forgetting Walls, the podcast. This is episode 55, and I'm Keith. If you're a first-time listener, this is the first time I've ever introduced myself, so that's kind of crazy. But anyways, we've been doing this for a year, and we want to say thanks for listening so far. And if you're a first-time listener, thanks for checking us out tonight. You're probably checking us out because of our special guest tonight. But Shaun Lavelle, a.k.a. Shaun Judah, comes on the show to talk some social injustices. He talks about racism with us. We talk personal experiences and how we dealt with these things over the year, where our country may be going, where it could go. But at the end, man, we talk about the thing that really brings us together, and that's music. And we talk about hip-hop, and we love it. Justin, who is here this week with us, brings a friend, Jessica, and she joins us to kind of making the show a little bit more lively with a female perspective. Hopefully she'll talk more the next time she's on the show. We want to say thanks, man, for just checking out all the stuff that you've checked out with us, keeping us going. And we're going to try to change up some things, maybe make it a little more listener-friendly. But I don't care if anybody likes it or don't like it. What comes up next will always come up next. And it's from bensound.com, and it's the dubstep. And hello, everybody. Welcome to Forgetting Walls, the podcast. This is episode 55. This is a special episode. It's so special. It's so special because we have been doing this for
1 year. Woo!
That's right, 1 whole year. We are so enthusiastic. Our New Year's, well, technically we're anniversary of the second episode a year in.
Okay, close enough.
Yeah.
Details.
Yes.
Semantics.
But welcome to our show, which we hope this year we will do bigger and better things with. We'll get out to more people, and maybe we won't be so unprofessional.
Forgetting Walls 2.0.
There it is. So, Justin.
Yes.
It's a small crowd tonight.
It is a small, very small crowd.
And Justin,
everyone on your end bailed.
I know nobody's
I'm just gonna
here.
say that.
But you know what's cool about nobody being here? I have the camera all to myself.
Exactly. Well, I was going to say you don't have to deal with those hooligans, but
yeah, you're right. It's insane that I am by myself. Sometimes I've been without you on the other end. Sometimes, you know,
is this the first time you've ever been by yourself on that end?
Yeah.
Besides the first few episodes when it was just me and you.
I think this is the first time in a very long time it's just been me on this side.
Yeah, everyone just messaged today and was like, "Can't make it. I got a bail." I'm like, "Oh, geez, guys, thanks."
Just kidding.
I know everyone's busy and we have.
This may be the best episode we've had in a long time.
Probably.
It's because I'm here.
Yes.
Obviously.
Speaking of, Justin, introduce our guest on your end this time.
So she is a longtime friend. We met freshman year on the same hall, and we've been close friends ever since. And yeah, so this is...
I'm Jessica.
Well, Jessica, we're glad to have you on the show this week.
I am glad to be here.
And from
Thank you.
conversations before we started recording, we may have you back on the show next week. And we're going to keep all that under wraps so I can keep that a secret surprise.
I would love that. And yeah, I'm down.
I'm so happy about that. Like we said, guys and girls, this is been a year for us. This is episode 55. I think I need to relook at the statistics. Maybe I'll do that this week on how long the average podcast lasts. But when I was reading them before, I told Justin, I was like, man, 7 episodes, most podcasts start, fading out. Man, we're doing 55 episodes, and we only have a handful of people listening to us. So, man, if we actually got some people listening to us, we could probably
say that every week, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Justin.
We have people listening to us. We have a pretty good following, at least compared to a lot of other stuff that's only been around for a year. I mean,
Yeah.
we're making ground. I mean, it's not. Don't get me wrong. It's not like thousands upon thousands of people are listening to this. Because guess what? We're just a few guys and girl here. But I think comparatively, we're doing pretty well for ourselves.
Justin.
We're not making money or anything. Don't get us wrong. But
Justin.
what?
Bueller.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Can we be done with this? Can this be the last episode? 55. We've had a good run. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Join us at forgettingwalls.com. Actually, don't, because we won't exist anymore. We're canceled.
Oh, heck no, man. I just paid the subscription on that thing. We got at least another year in us.
Oh, my gosh. We have to go through another year.
Absolutely, man. What are you talking about?
Done.
Man, look. Just grow up. You graduated college.
That's true. I don't have anything to do now, so hey.
You adult.
Yeah, we got to put you to real work now.
Speaking of adulthood, I just applied to grad school, so
how did that go?
It went well. It was a long process. I applied to 6 different schools so far. I'm going to see if any more, because the last application, if I end up doing it, is due in March, so I'm not going to worry about it. But yeah, it went well. It's just expensive because they have like application fees where it's like $75, some not like $90, $100 just for applying. And so they rack up pretty quick. But overall, I'm pretty stoked. I'm excited to see if I get in anywhere, and if I do, where that'll be. So
If he says, if you're gonna get in.
Yeah, you're going to get in
awesome.
somewhere.
well, thanks.
Well, you're going to get in somewhere because God's on your side, and He's not going to let you down.
I got Jesus.
I got
It doesn't
Jesus.
matter. I got Jesus.
I'll get in somewhere, but don't go one of them heathen schools.
Oh, of course.
Anyways, guys and girls, we're going to be changing some things up. We're going to be doing some different collaborations with some people. Hopefully, within the next few weeks, we'll have a better format set for you. We're going to change up a few things today on how we do things. But one thing we'll never get away from is that we're going to try to stay purposeful in our direction that we started with, because as you'll see today, we've got a special guest on the show that's going to join us for our meat and potatoes segment. And we're going to deal with issues on race and social injustices of that nature. And we want you to stick around and listen to it. And we want you to share this, because we're going to try to get back to this idea that, for real, that, everybody's a person and you're a person, and we need to love each other like that. And we need to see other people as people. And once we can break those walls, we're not seeing them as a project or some type of an agenda or stepping stone to get to that next level, or so we can be seen. That's what we're going to try to push, and we're going to try to focus on that this year, but we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about sports. Speaking of sports, Carolina got that whole field advantage. We want to see how they hold up. They're not going to hold up.
You're alone here. You're outnumbered this time.
Well,
People who care about football.
It doesn't matter. I'm louder. But we're going to talk about a lot of things this year, and hopefully at the end of this year, maybe we'll have a better foothold in opening people's eyes and raising awareness to things. And we're going to talk about some stuff we talked before and get different perspectives on it. And the one thing we're going to try to do is be a little bit more professional in our podcasting.
Let's be honest.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Gosh, she's only on the show the first time and she's already busting my chops. Come on now. I love it. I love it. It's just good stuff. But anyways, like I said, we got a special guest on the show. He is he is literally a friend of mine from way back in the day. I consider him a family member, a brother. He's the type of person that, when he shows up at the doorstep, he is welcome and he is always around. I consider him like my little brother. Man, but also in the same aspect, I consider him a mentor too. So it's kind of crazy that you can throw all those things together, but you can. And he's going to be on the show with us today. His name is Shaun Lavelle, also AKA Shaun Judah. You're going to hear from him in the meat and potato segment. And Justin, man, realistically, dude, I have to say this, man. Mm-hmm. Over a year of us working together on this project and all the work we've put into it and all the things we've done, no matter if we only, and I think we said this in the get-go, we're going to do this no matter if one person's listening or a million persons listening, because one person is really all we're trying to reach out to. So I appreciate you sticking around with me, putting up with my crap, Me talking over everybody.
No problem.
And I love you, dude. And I'm proud to see what you've come through in this year and how you've grown in your faith and become an adult and a man in that just short year, dude.
Thank you. That really means a lot. I appreciate it.
And being sentimental, that's all you're getting. We'll be back in a minute.
All right. Enough of this.
No more sentimental stuff. We'll be back in a minute with Shaun
We
Judah.
just get 3 minutes of your time. Give or take a second or two. So when they ask you about the culture, tell them I know it well. Hey, come on. It's what you get when you mix Tony Hawk with Ice Cube, NWA, and the Bones Brigade. Let me talk to him. Hey, I'll catch me hopping off John, but North corner of CNT or 20 minutes east to South Central, that's West Coast beat. Broken families and pasta, black rock and white pasta. Jimi Kendrick squirting about a mock and all you preconceived. The narrative fight great. The heritage makes a man stand with his spine straight. The ground that grew Kendrick, Anthony Kiedis, Incubus. Music that speaks to the Jim Morrison. Each of us share the same nutrients. Set mine got laced with divine DNA. Gon' face it. The child of a freedom fighter. Trial like graffiti writers. Wild like the freedom riders. We are all day walkers. Hybrids, bilingual, bicultural. Blowing in a king's tongue. Elohim and human one. Rosetta Stone with a mic and some chucks on. All things to all men to all men. Say all men. Were you the product of a panther and mama's prayers?
And we're back. Thanks for sticking around with
All
us.
right.
Yeah, it's time for a little meat and potatoes. That was Propaganda featuring Lecrae with Daywalkers off the Crimson Chord CD.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
His second
man.
album.
I love
It's
it.
very good.
I love that stuff. Man, I know we could probably not talk them up enough in the beginning, but it's been a long time coming. Literally a long time, because I think like the third or fourth episode I started telling Justin, man, I need to get my boy on the show. I need to get him on.
Get this guy on.
I was like, you got to check him out. I mean, his music, his poetry, his artistry. He's like a modern day freedom fighter. He stands out, and I've known him for like, it seems like forever and a day. But I mean, like literally, I mean, you're going to find out when we start talking, you're going to realize we've been around each other for a while. I don't even know how the best way to introduce him, but he is a true friend, a real guy, down to earth. I call him my brother. He's a special person, because, he is, I don't even know how to say this without like getting a little teary eyed real quick, but, he taught me a lot of things when we were younger, about, life and things. And I'm like, man, I'm learning so much from this guy. And I realized at that point, that's a lifelong friendship formed. And, this is my boy. This is, the dude that, introduced me to, like, it used to be called like a little bit of slam poetry back in the day, but spoken word. This is Shaun Judah Lavelle, aka Calico. Man,
What's up, good?
hey, it's all you, man. So how have
all
you? How have you been, my friend?
Well, Keith, Minister Keith, Pastor Keith, Brother Keith, Dude Keith, Sergeant Keith, man, I've been great. I've been horrible, but I'm here. So I think the main thing is that I'm here and I'm happy. So that's how I'm doing. How are you, sir?
Man, it's lovely, dude. Like I said, man, it's just good having you here and being able to talk to you. Going to try to be, like I said, we try to be very open and honest. We don't hold no punches. That's why I got you on here, man, because you've never held one.
I can dig it.
So, yeah, a little bit. So Justin and Jessica, Jessica, who's on the show with us, don't forget, she's in the beginning. She's here with us now. You may not hear much from her, but it depends on how extrovert she is. she can't even say anything. She's like, I don't want to talk.
No, but it's finally good to finally hear from you. It's really good to. It's been a long time coming, like Keith said. So I'm really excited to see where this goes.
So let's see. What was it? Let's see. 99, like 2000 ish. This guy. See, I was in the military. I was sergeant. Had a team, signal team in the military. I was down in Georgia. And I was building this. They were building this team around me. I don't know what kind of team they were building around me, but we were like misfits. And
Best kind of team.
and I get this guy, man, and he is. I mean, he is all over the place, dude. He is wide open. He is boisterous. I mean, he is just there. And I'm like, man, this guy. And then we started, talking. And I told you, I was like, when he told me he listened to Soundgarden after all the music I've seen him listen to, and I'm like, this dude is on my level, man. But so he comes in, and then, like I said, from there, the man is a master of the VHS kung fu movies.
Well, now I have El Rey, so I don't even have to play my VHS movies. I just watch El Rey all day.
There you go, man. There you go. Yeah, we went to Bosnia, and we was like, and he opens this trunk, and I'm in like a trunk, and it's like 4 stacks deep, like 3 rows back, of nothing but VHS. I'm like, well, you know how old we are. Just start telling our dates like we're not carrying around DVDs and stuff. But so let's see. The last time I saw him was just a little bit before he got married. We went down for a birthday. His now wife surprised him, and a couple of us military guys went down and saw him on his birthday, which was probably one of the coolest things that I've ever seen done. I mean, it was really amazing the way she set that up, and she's a pretty good woman. He's lucky.
Yeah, it was shortly after you and I had gotten back into contact, and you had sent me the letter that you had, I guess that you had read to your church or presented to your church.
Oh yeah.
And my wife, was planning this party. I knew it wasn't a surprise party, but you and Kim, the kids, and Eric were the surprise for me. And, we had talked, and she, I explained to her that, I had some issues in life, but she saw past all of that and thought I was a special enough dude, to the point that she would have, friends from my past come that she had heard me talk about. And dude, it was at that moment, I'd already liked the girl since high school, but I knew at that moment that she would do something that special for a dude with the past that I had. Well, I had to have that. I had to have all of that. So now we're, it'll be 7 years. Matter of fact, February, Valentine's Day was the first time we ever went out, and it'll make 7 years that we've been together. And in August, it'll be our 7th year wedding.
Man, that's amazing, dude.
Wow.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Eric, thank you. But Keith and Kim were there. Man, that was like the biggest. I mean, I boo-hoo cried. I was so thrown off by it, but that was the most love anyone had showed me, as far as in a relationship. And then to have that guy, to have Keith there with his wife, family, and another good friend of ours, Eric, that just sent it over the top, man. So I'm forever grateful for y'all even coming down.
No, man, that was. I mean, I didn't want to leave, bro. That's how good that trip was, and I can't wait to do that again. And we're getting situated. We're gonna have to do something again. Yeah, man. It's great because now he has kids and he knows what it's like, and he's all in that realm with me now.
Ooh, if I could do it all again, though.
Well,
I'd still do the same. I would do it the exact same.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. Well, let's do this. Let's get into some less reminiscent and talk about what's going on in our world right now, because it's gotten kind of out of hand for me. I'm not an outspoken person when it comes to. I'm not outspoken on Facebook unless it's about music or something, or Star Wars. We know that.
We know that.
Yep.
But and Shaun, I follow you. Like I keep up with all the stuff that you post and everything, and to keep a fresh perspective on what's going on around, because you live in an area. I mean, let's face it. I live in an area that is kind of blocked from a lot of the world where I stay at. I live in a little beach town. It's not something that's, there's no metropolitan area real close by. I mean, like real metropolitan area that has any real diversity. There's no real diversity in my area anyways, which is kind of horrible. But so you don't get a fresh perspective of what's going on in the world, and especially in our country, with everything that's going on. And like we were talking about before we started recording tonight, for our perspective or our purpose at Forgetting Walls is like, I know we're all different, whether it's through our religion, whether it's through our economic status, our social status, our race, our, sexual orientation, whatever it is. But, we want to try to help people see that, it doesn't matter how you're different. We don't want you loving people because, well, I love you even though you're different. We want you to love people because they're people. But we need to see how to do that, especially, gosh, I think you said it in one of your posts. It's been a while, but I think somebody was talking about color blindness, and we talked about it a little bit, but you can't be colorblind because some people think that's the answer to loving everybody. I don't think that's the answer. So what I hope for we can do tonight is maybe ask some questions, let you talk about it, and just kind of, speak your perspective, number one, on the problem we have with race or racism in our country, whether it's, no matter what that looks like. Racism is racism. The prejudice is prejudice, and however that looks. And, I want to be able to ask you questions, and all right. So it's a podcast. Nobody can see. Obviously you can tell, I'm white, and Justin's white and Lavelle is a black man from Alabama. So he's going to give us some good perspective from down there, but I want to be able to ask you questions that sound ignorant to maybe the average person, but for some people who are scared to ask so they can really know how to, I guess, have real relationships with people who they've never had relationships with before because they're afraid and they don't understand. Is that cool?
Yeah, you shoot, brother, shoot. Don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot.
Hands up, don't shoot. All right, so first, let's put it out there like this. For the first thing I want to say is that anybody who thinks we don't have a problem with racism in the country, let's let Bashan say exactly his piece on that.
For those who think there isn't a racial problem, you are clearly a part of the problem because it's visual, it's audible. We see it in our schools, in our churches. We hear it on our radios. We see it on our commercials. It's in our financial institutions, in our education system. It is everywhere, and it's inescapable. And for people to say, have, the balls, the ovaries, or whatever, to say that we don't have a racial problem, it's, it's right there. It's in your tongue, the fact that you would say that. Do we have to have one? Absolutely not. But the fact that people think because they don't see it or it's not affecting them directly, it's right there in their lap. And it's everywhere. It's global. When we were in Korea, when we were in Bosnia, there were things said and that I heard. There were ways that people treated me as a black male that I wouldn't expect to get there. But because it's a sin issue. It is it's no longer about the God in people. It's about the melanin in people or the lack thereof. And that's really where our issue is. It's within those people that say there is no problem.
That's a very good point. And to think about that, cause, people think it's, an American problem. It's not an issue around the world. Like I said, I've been in one of the places with you and seen it firsthand, how, people treated you and not just you, but other guys who were there with us. And people say, it can't be that bad. And well, it is that bad. I think we had a show where we were talking about race, and I was telling them, I was like, I remember, man, when I was in school, and I wasn't the typical white kid anyway, so so
You're above average.
Yeah. So I was hanging out, and I'm riding down the road, there's a car full of dudes, and I'm the only white guy in it. And you get pulled over, and everybody but me has been pulled out of the car and put on the hood. And, as a teenager, you didn't really understand why, because of course I come from a white family. So you don't understand why that's happening until they get back in the car and they say, this is what happens to us all the time. And that started, I mean, let's be for real. That took me through my Malcolm X movement, my African pendant wearing days. Cause I mean, I felt like there's no way people can be this bad. And then it opened my eyes up to how, racist my family was. I meant parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents. And then I started seeing this deep rooted hatred and tradition. And it was born out of ignorance. It was born out of fear and ignorance. And I couldn't understand it. And then as I grew more and more into understanding that not only is there a problem, if I don't try to make some headway in it, I can be a part of the problem too. How do you feel about people who just sit back and do nothing?
Wow, there are sometimes it's good to sit back and do nothing when there's nothing that can be done. In a lot of the situations that we're seeing, somebody could have stepped up and said something. Some of those officers, maybe the captain before he releases them to the street, hey guys, be on your best behavior, whatever. But it's not just on the police. Let me say this, as a black man, I know that it's not just on the police. I know that in some of those instances you do have people who, I watched a clip earlier today of a guy saying all you had to do was be compliant. And as much as I wanted to kind of be mad at him, he was right. Sometimes people's perception of law enforcement, will give them reason to be like, well, I'm just not going to do it. They're going to mess with me anyway. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel it. I understand it. But that doesn't necessarily make it the right thing to do. So, but there are people in all of our past who've kind of told us, hey, you might not want to do that. That might not be the best thing for you. But there are also those people that know that we're about to do something stupid and they never say anything.
Right.
And they're just as much the problem as the person doing something against another.
I like that point of view, because I think some people feel like they have to do something no matter what. And I think there's a time and a place for everything. Justin, I don't know if you agree about that, but
yeah.
I'm just making sure you're still there.
No, I am. I'm listening.
But when we have situations like, and I don't want to say Michael Brown sparked it all, but that was one of the defining moments when things started becoming, mainstream again in quite a few years, I believe. I want to get your thought on that and kind of run through maybe from what happened there till where we're at now. When I know this sounds weird, but when you saw everything going down with what happened to Michael Brown, and you saw how the Facebook lit up and Twitter lit up and things of that nature, where did you go in that place? Because I mean, we're speaking to you from, of course, for me, I'm a different perspective. I'm trying to understand, every inside and outside angle. But where did you go in that moment?
Initially, I went numb because this is not new to us. When you think back to things, we initially go back to the Rodney King incident,
mm-hmm.
but we know that it's been happening well before then. You had incidents like Emmett Till, you had the Jenna 6, you had all kinds of other things going on. But I think in this instance where you actually see this happening, and then the stories were conflicting initially, and still to this day they're still kind of conflicting. I just went numb, and now that I'm a dad and a husband, mm-hmm. not just a single black dude who has to worry about himself, it was a different reality for me now, because now my son, Trey, who's in college, he's 18 years old.
Right.
He's a mild-mannered guy, slim, but he likes loud music, and I know he does a lot of things that parents don't want their kids to do, but again, he's a kid. Yeah. So I went numb because now I'm thinking of his safety at all times. My daughter, who's 14, she'll deal with some of the same things, but not as much because she's a woman. But then I've got a 10-year-old son as well. Mm-hmm. And even though this is a little bit over a year ago, my initial thoughts were my boys.
Right.
No longer is it just about me and my peers. Now it's my sons that I'm responsible for. What if they do something stupid like stealing something, and you have an overzealous police officer who goes far beyond his limitations and his rights and does something like this? So the numbness came from, say what you want. We know what the word says about, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but my thoughts and my numbness came from a fear for my children. And I think a lot of parents, whether they be my age with teenagers or younger than me with infants, a lot of us, our fear came from, what about our kids next? Because we've seen it. It wasn't, it didn't start with Michael Brown. We knew it wouldn't end with him, but this was major. This was something that it blew up to a point where you had to have National Guard involved now.
Right.
I had friends from Birmingham who drove there to be a part of the protest, and part of me wanted to go with them, but then that numbness kicked back in. What if I go up there and now I leave my wife and sons and daughter without a dad?
Right.
Then what happens? That's what a lot of, people, and I can't speak for every black person, I wouldn't dare think that I did, but that's where a lot of it came from. So our unrest, our uneasiness, our protesteral ways, it's almost like instinct. We've seen it before. We knew what happened then. What happens next, and how do we prevent being us?
Now, you mentioned the fact about being a parent, this is good because, we can dissect the two things, because I'm a parent. Most of my kids are a little older than yours in retrospect to the ages and the number. But, there was never a point in my life where I said, I'm worried about Ryan getting, doing something stupid in a cop shooting him, or, killing him, or Sterling, getting a ticket to being pulled over and being put in handcuffs and thrown on the ground, because, those things don't enter my mind, because let's be honest, that's the white privilege mentality that we have in this country, because, being a white male, you don't think about those things. You don't have fear for your kids in those types of things.
Because we don't have to think about that.
Exactly.
Because that's something that never really happens.
And and that's one of the things that I think people forget is, like, let's just be very blunt. White people tend to forget. They think, well, I don't have white privilege, but you do, because when's the last time you was worried about your son walking down the street and a cop driving by and putting him against the wall because the color of his skin, simply for that? So it perturbs, or not perturbs. It disturbs me. It disturbs me.
Both words were.
Yeah. It disturbs me that, that society, and I'm not ignorant to the fact, but it disturbs me that people can be that blind to the reality of it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was too long ago that, I saw an incident where actually a young black mother who had, a young son who was just coming home from, I think from a friend's house or something. And he was literally doing nothing. And the cop pulled him over because the kid said that the cop drove by his car. And then I don't know if he did a U-turn or slowed around or whatever happened, but the cop then eventually came back behind him, pulled him over, put him in handcuffs, put him back in the cop car. This kid's 16 years old, just got his driver's license, hadn't done anything, and when he got back home, he told his mother everything that had happened. And she's like, well, did you do anything? And he's like, no, the cop literally just let me go and said, don't let me catch you out here at this late again.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's justified about that?
There is no justification. That is, I don't know what it is that I don't know if these cops are guys who are bullied and punked all through their lives, and now that they have a little bit of authority, they feel like they can run with it. But I know there's recently it's been in the news that about police in Dothan, Alabama, which is a few hours from here, where for years since they say the paperwork goes back to '96, where they were planting drugs and weapons on young black males.
Yeah, I saw that.
This was protocol. And when you think about things like that, and where I live, I'm about 30 minutes outside of Birmingham, and I'm in a very rural area. Now, what we spend on our house out here, what we spend in the city, we would have got a box. But we're out in a nice area, and we're in a really nice suburb area, and the neighborhood, there's probably about, I want to say let's say 200 houses, and about 40%, maybe 35% of those are occupied by black families, most of them under the age of, let's say, 45. Mm-hmm. So these are fairly young black families in this nice area, and the police force has about 6 people on it. One is black, and I've met them all, including the black guy, in the few years we've lived out here, just from being stopped on a regular for nothing. A couple times I've been speeding, but then one time I was sitting at the front of our neighborhood by the pool, sitting there sending a text, and a police officer pulls up. Hey, what's going on here? I said, I'm sending a text. I didn't have to answer him at all, but, hey, I know what the deal is. Why am I going to incite something? Let me be compliant, as the guy suggested today on the clip. So, I said, I'm sending a text. Sending a text for what? I said, man, I live in this neighborhood. I said, I'm not doing anything. I said, is there a problem? He said, no, I'm just patrolling the area. Why did he feel that there was a need to say anything to me?
No, exactly.
Why did he feel comfortable in pulling up to me? Because that's what happens. And it doesn't just happen to me. It happens to a lot of black males. It happens to a lot of Hispanic males. Mm-hmm. It happens to a lot of Asian males. And I can honestly say that I know for a fact that in certain areas of our country, when white people are in these certain areas, let's call them urban areas, mm-hmm. they're pulled over by police because they're suspected of being there up to no good. They're buying drugs. Mm-hmm. They're dropping off drugs. So it's an issue that the police have, that they feel that they can say and do, say anything to people just because they have suspicion. What suspicion was I giving that man sitting in the daytime, sending a text from my vehicle in the front of my neighborhood? Nothing. What did that young kid do in his car that set the alarm off for that police officer? I don't know, because I wasn't there, but I tell you, because of my past experience, he probably did nothing. And then anytime that there's a black male, not all the time, but anytime I see a police officer, I clam up, because I know what could possibly happen if this dude had a bad day or he doesn't like me because of what I look like. I could not go home. So I may get nervous. I may signal the wrong way, and then that gives him his probable cause. Oh, well, you had suspicious activity. I've got a 76 Nova, and I locked my keys in my trunk one time. I had to pop my lock off to get my keys. I popped the lock off, go to AutoZone to get another lock to put in there, and on the way back, I'm stopped because it looked suspicious because I had no lock on my trunk. All this happened in 30 minutes. So when my kid's bus pulls by, I've got a 76 Nova. Nobody else has this car. It's not on dope boy rims. It's a classic looking vehicle with hubcaps on it. There's not sitting up. It's not dark tint. This guy pulls me over. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He pulls me out of the vehicle in front of my kid's bus as it goes by. Now, my kids, who are at the time, let's say 12 and maybe 9, who are on this bus, they're like, Daddy, what happened? What did you do? Dad didn't do nothing other than drive his car to go get a lock to put back on his trunk. Even when I showed him, he still wanted to search my vehicle.
Yeah.
That happens regularly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that, let's see, after that incident, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, me and my cousin, now, okay, so let me take you back. And probably one of the best reasons I love Shaun so much is because of his root in hip hop and his knowledge of it, and you'll hear a lot about that probably in the second half of this segment. But I love hip hop. I've since I think the 7th grade, I've just been all about it. I mean, I left rock, my dad's music, and went into my own frame, and it was all about hip hop and the music and the culture, and because it's more than just music, and you'll hear that, but the culture and the way of life. And I thought it wasn't bound by a race, even though it started from the urban areas, and it was this artistry that moved and transformed things, and I loved it. And look, I had everything, the hats, the clothes. If I could have found a way to be A brother, I would have been a brother. 'Cause,
I remember those elephant pants, dude.
oh man, tell me about it, bro. But dude, man, but me and my cousin were riding his car. He had a black Mustang with tinted windows. I was a smoker at the time, and man, I had this big, funky, like cross color hat on. You remember those, Shaun? Come on, man. Yeah, and that thing was like loud. And my cousin had almost the same thing on, but just different colors. And we're riding down the road, and it's about dusk, and I threw my cigarette out the window, and we get pulled over. And I'm like, we just literally took a left-hand turn at a green arrow. So we didn't do anything wrong. We got pulled over. The cop walks up to the window. He looks in the window, and he goes, "Oh." And we was like, "What's wrong, officer?" He goes, "Hey, y'all look like somebody else." I'm like, what do you mean we look like somebody else? And he's like, "You threw a cigarette out the window, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." He goes, "Just don't let it happen again and get down the road." And for that whole trip back to his house, my cousin's house, the whole time I was thinking, I'm like, and then I was like, it clicked. He thought we were black because he was an old country cop in an old country place. He thought we were black, and he was profiling, and he pulled us over for that. It's interesting,
you know
isn't
how many
it?
times I've heard friends say, "Oh, yeah, I got pulled over because I fit the profile."
Yeah.
That's something that, unfortunately, we learn in our teens. I've looked like somebody so many times because, they say we all look alike. But, I mean, outside of that, to police, it really is. And, again, I'm not trying to make blanket statements, but it seems to be that they've been trained a certain way, or some rogue group has gotten a hold of these guys and said, "Here's what you do." And it's a targeting. It's a targeting of people that look like me, that sound like me, that talk like me, that drive like me, that listen to the same music I do. And it's a fear that we're not going to be able to make it home to our families. I've been pulled over and stopped and been late for work because I look like somebody else. Or they're driving a vehicle similar to this. The car was green. I'm driving a black car. That simple, and it happens daily. So I mean, and again, you experienced it. Mm-hmm. Oh, we thought you were someone else.
Yeah, and that's what For me, it takes me back to this idea that, like I was saying earlier, that now we're trying to come. Okay, so we're in this age where Justin was talking before about being involved in social injustices and trying to stand up for those places where people aren't being able to get that full voice because of the discrimination that they get, whether it's from the homosexual community, whether it's from a different social status, whether it's the poor or the middle class or whatever you want to call it, and then whether it's a different race. When you get to that point where people are trying to stand up now we whether it's raising awareness or trying to find a solution to the issues in 2016, go figure that. We talk about, we know that there's a problem, and we obviously explain that there's a problem, whether it's, I've heard some people, well, it's not a race problem, it's a police problem. But if it was just a police problem, if it was just the power of being the police, wouldn't we see more police issue across the board of all races? I mean, I'm just kind of posing that out there. What do you think?
You're right. I mean, if it was just that, you'd see it with everybody. You'd see with the old white guy walking his dog being frisked, because he thought he was smoking a joint or something. We'd see that, but we don't, because it is a race issue. It's clearly, and even to the point where it's not just a black or white against black. It's a white against Hispanic. It's a black against Hispanic. It's a black against white. It's a race issue because we're so disconnected within our society. And it starts, sadly, in the church, the place that we go to speak to our God, the temple, the mosque, synagogue, or wherever people want to go, wherever they choose to go to, they're segregated. Yes, all of them. And even the majority of some of these newer churches that have mixed congregations, it's still a majority of one where people have gone to seek something different, and now they're the new face. And you have people in these churches. I go to one. It's a great church, but we say we're a mixed church, but we're still predominantly black, to the point of, I want to say 80% which that's good that we have 20% membership in a church over 4,000. But still, look at it. We're there every Sunday, on Wednesdays for special functions, and church is the most segregated place on earth.
Yeah, that's honestly, but you know, that we did we did a whole show with a girl from a church in Charlotte, Charlotte area.
Yeah, well, Charlotte area.
Yeah. So, and her pastor, they have a black pastor, and you know, he's the senior pastor there, but their whole concept of the church is, you know, multi-ethnic, multi-generational type of church. And I was like, well, that's great that there's one out there, but me and Justin have always said, and we stand by it firmly, that we honestly agree that the 11 o'clock hour on Sunday morning is the most segregated hour in America, if not the world. We know it's true. But we also know that it's not just a one-sided thing, because, you know, I have good friends. I go to their church sometimes and do functions with them, but it is a predominantly black church. And I've always said, you know, what do we do? You know, I know it starts in a church. We know that's where it's at, but, you know, is there ever going to be a way, which I'm not a very optimistic person to that we ever come to this place outside of heaven that we're going to find a desegregated lifestyle in church?
I'd love to say yeah, but I'm going to give you a hell no, because we're not going to see it, because again, we as people have put so many limitations on who and what God is. And that's why we've got 100 denominations within one denomination. True. We've got 50 different types of Baptists, 40 different types of Catholics, 38 different types of non-denomination, and we don't see the problem is us. We forget that God told us, you know, he's a spirit. Those who worship him worship in spirit and truth. If he's put himself in us, if we're made in his image, we're spirits. We just happen to live in these earth suits called bodies. But the true us is a spirit. But we don't see that. All we see is what we can see. We don't really see God. We see God as we see our black Jesus. We see our white Jesus. I've never seen an Asian or a Native American Jesus, but I'm pretty sure that somewhere somebody wanted to have one. But we put all these labels on God other than just God.
Come on now, you know there's Korean Jesus.
I was gonna say I have seen Korean Jesus.
I haven't seen one, but I would love to see one eating kimchi, you know, at the Last Supper, drinking sake. You know, I'd love to see that. We've done it so much, and then being that this is the great America, I love where I live, but I mean, come on, y'all. We think about it. We've been taught the same. We've basically been given the same education, but then we chopped it all up. Mm-hmm. Now Texas has done away with slavery. I think that in Texas school books now it's called indentured servitude, but they want to separate themselves from what America was built on, this great principle of Christianity, but it was the land of opportunity where anybody can come, anybody can worship however, and have this great American dream, but it's all been a lie because nobody's been given that right. So do you remember John Scott?
Yeah.
Remember after 9/11, I don't know if you knew, he went through so much stuff being a devout Muslim that break down daily.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember. Yeah.
And it was sad because here we are, he just wants to serve his country, whether it be to get school money, to, you know, get benefits or whatever. But it was his choice to join the military. And in this great, you know, this great country, he was discriminated against daily after 9/11 because he still prayed. He got messed with because he didn't wear shorts, because that's part of, you know, their practice. You don't expose your legs. He would have people talking noise to him when we were in PT formation because he was following the ordinances of his religion.
Yep. Yeah.
And not just soldiers. We're talking about sergeants, talking about officers.
Yeah. You know, and the craziest thing about that is that I remember him, and I remember a lot of that time frame around 9/11 and watching him. And, you know, I've always liked that dude, man. And I never saw any, and I'm like, and that's something that's bugged me because, you know, you talk about 9/11, and I'll go back even further to, you know, when Pearl Harbor happened and how they treated all the American Japanese in the country at that same time. It's like, you know, because these people who look like you and are from your heritage do this atrocity, that we're going to blame you as well for it. And there's this blanket statement of hate that goes across. And I mean, that dude, man, he was just like one of the greatest dudes I knew, you know, because I mean, he was always around you guys. And of course, since I was always around you guys, it was just apparent that I knew who he was. And, you know, and he was never nothing but nice. I mean, I wouldn't call myself super duper Christian back in those days, but I mean, I knew God and I wasn't of the same faith, but you know, he never held any resentment against me for it. So why would I hold it against him?
No, but again, you're the exception to the rule. I'm even myself. I've got more friends, more close friends who are Muslim or agnostic than I do a close Christian friend, because we have a pure respect of each other.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to live my life to a point where, hey, brother, you need to come with me. We're having Bible study. You need to get out them rags, get off that player rug, and come down. No, I respect what it is he does, and that's him. Now, if something in my life, because we're supposed to be a witness, a living witness, not a telling, talking witness, but if my life reflects something that he appreciates and he decided to say, you know what, I want to go, you know, worship with you, it would have been all love.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. We just purely respected each other, and I knew what we didn't want to talk about, because it would cause not conflict, but it would raise a heated argument sometimes because of our belief systems. But it was a respect for him as a human, scratch that, as a spirit that God also created. And that's what love is right there. It's that mutual respect of people's wishes and desires. God doesn't force us to do anything. He doesn't make us worship him. He doesn't make us choose him. It's our decision. So who are we to say, you have to be this? You have to do that.
Right.
That's their choice.
Right.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Absolutely. A trend that I definitely see Christianity about, well, not just in Christianity, but it applies, I think, to a lot of people, where we tend to try to impose our own culture as the standard of what culture should be, whether that's white culture or Christian culture or even black culture or anything like that. We impose this idea that our culture should be the measure of all other cultures, and instead of seeing all cultures for their inherent worth and value.
Right. It's one of these avenues where we talk about church, and it's something I was going to say too, that, you know, for me, that I don't like the segregation in church. You know what I'm saying? The different, you know, Justin's always heard my thing about denominations. I've never really been a big fan of them, but I do know why we have them. Even to the segregation in our race of church, going to my buddy's church, man, you know, they worship differently. It's their culture, it's their lifestyle, it's their tradition, it's their background. So I never negated them or gave them any negative thought. Why don't you have more white people in your church? Because then I go to the white church and I see how they worship, and I'm like, there's no way that somebody from his church can come here and feel like not comfortable or accepted, but feel like they are worshiping the way they know how to worship God in their own personal relationship, and they're in that group. So I understand why we're segregated. I don't think we need to be segregated out of hate, which I think we are overcoming those things. But when it comes to segregation of your worship style and your culture, I think that has a lot to play into it too. And that's what I've always tried to want to, you know, kind of tell people, that, you know, it's fine sometimes to have some of these segregations, because you're not segregating yourself out of hate, but you're segregating yourself out of your worship to your God. And I see it like that until those things start breaking down, because sometimes they can become detrimental. But, you know, I mean, I worship way different. I mean, my worship music is something most people don't listen to, so it's fine. But, you know, and I don't expect people to join along in that. But when we come together to do the work, let's get a little Christianese here. When we come do the work of the Lord, and we try to go out and help each other and help others, that should be the time we desegregate. The time that we get out there and we try to become the church, not a church. So, I mean, that's one of my, you know, that's just one of my areas that I guess I'm coming to understand because I'm growing up and becoming an adult.
Word? You're an adult now?
Man, don't you know? Man, I hope I'm an adult, man. As much stress and responsibility I have nowadays.
Well, man, look, I'll tell you this, bro. I remember the conversations we had, and even when you came to visit and everything, we talked, that night. But the work I've seen you do, man, I applaud you because not enough people are doing it. To include myself, I mean, I do some work, but there's always more that I could be doing. And I know that because I see other people doing it all the time. So I do commend you and even Justin for hanging in with a guy like that because I know Keith is super high strung. He's always on the go. But I love him for who he is because I love you for who you are, man, because you do have a love and a heart for people. I remember one of the incidents when you had to write me up, and it hurt. I could see in your eyes it hurt you to do it. And I looked at you and I said, man, that's your job. You're my sergeant. I effed up. You got to do your job. I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to be mad at you. But you had enough compassion to come to me and say, look, Lavelle, I have to do this. I understood it totally, which is one of the things I appreciate. My dad, he said, man, when you mess up, you take it. You take all of it and you chew it up and you swallow it and you keep on moving. If he wouldn't have taught me that, then I would have looked at you like, man, forget you. But you could have easily come at me a different way, but you didn't because you love people. See, that's a difference between, you and some others who, oh, yeah, I love to do it, and blah, blah, blah. You just do the work, man, and you keep on doing it, and God will bless you, and he's been, I already know he has been, but it's if we had more dudes like you, we'd be a much better society, but we're not, and we're having these conversations. But I just want to put that out there, dude. You're doing what needs to be done.
That's too much.
Feeding your ego a little bit, Keith.
No, man, that makes me feel weird, man. You know how I am. I mean, I don't. Compliments are hard, man. But
I think he makes a great point that I think a lot of us we tend to talk the talk when it comes to diversity and when it comes to working to fight against racism, fight against the systematic thing that we see in our society. A lot of us like to talk, but actually, walking the walk is a whole different thing. And I think, especially when it comes to church, if you want to build like a multi-ethnic community and like a diverse community, that's great. But start in your own personal life. Yeah. Who are you reaching out to? Who are you associating with? Mm-hmm. And who are you, being friends with it, just at a very basic level. You have to start with yourself in your own personal life.
I'll tell you what,
very true.
Yeah, we, I hate to say that we're running long, man. We might have to make a part 2 of this at some point to get back to these issues, man. But I want to finish on this question before we get into the next part of this segment. And we talked a lot about a lot of different stuff, but, I'm just going to give this out to you, Shaun and Justin, both. We know we have issues. We talked a little bit about some stuff that we can do, but just real simple, maybe a real short statement on if there's one place you can start, like, and we'll just deal with the race issue. If you, wherever you live at, whoever you're around, if there's one thing that you could do, what would you suggest to that person? I don't care who goes first.
Man, it starts. Justin just said it starts with us individually. It starts in the home. A lot of us have been taught things. A lot of us have seen things. You can always unlearn what's not right. But if we don't correct our own issues and faults, then we're just, we're a continuum of the problem. No matter if we're black, white, fat, gay, straight, whatever the case is, if there's a problem and we're silent about it, then we're a part of the problem. If we don't change what's wrong with us, I know what's wrong with Bashan. And if I don't fix what's wrong with Bashan, how dare I say, oh, let me go fix this problem? Because all I'm doing is adding my crap to the crap that's already out there. So I have to start with me. So what can I do to be a little bit different? What can I do? Well, I'm not gonna be silent when I see things wrong. I wasn't raised to be that. I'm an underdog. I protect the underdog. That's the mantle I've been given from God. It's not always my place to do and say something all the time, but I care about people because God cares about people. So I have to be careful of some of the things I say on social media, more so because I don't just have black friends who are going through this stuff. I have white friends who see me going through this stuff, such as you, such as my friend Monica, such as Ryan. And anytime I post something, they're chiming in, they're sending me inbox messages or text messages or sharing that very thing. But I know that there's more that I can do. But can I get more people in by having a kind word? So sometimes I have to scale back. I might not want to drop the bomb I want to drop. Let me just go on, hey guys, look at this. Take a look at this. How does it affect your community? Because we're all a part of the same community.
Word, man. Justin, do you need to add anything to that?
No, I mean that was pretty much exactly what I was thinking, and I can't say it better myself. It starts with your own personal life and what you were doing. Yeah, yourself. I don't know if I can add anything. That was good.
Man, go and spit it out.
Well, I want to add something before we hit this little break and come back. There's some things that I've always thought about in the back of my head, and this is for all those people who don't think they're racist and, they're white, and you hear this thing and somebody goes, "Are you a racist?" Well, no, man, I got a black friend. Or,
oh gosh, yeah.
I work with a couple of black guys, and or my brother, has, a couple of friends. Look, man, this is what I say. If you're not truly invested into somebody else's life, I won't call him your friend. Reach out there and meet people who are different than you. Not because so you can say you can have different friends and that you love people who are different than you, but that you see people as people and that you love them. Man, just hold on a minute. We'll be right back with a little bit more Shaun Judah.
Chances are. What is the chance that nothing is just by chance? Living life as a string of things connected by happenstance, disconnected circumstance. Circumventing occurrences currently circling the cipher of squares, oblong shapes, looking just like situations orbiting objects. Celestial revelations of relationships and realities destined for destinations. These ain't just words, this is communication. Chances are. Chances are. Life is full of chances, beef and romances, opportunity to move forward your advancement. Start taking advantage, begin raising the standards, not just the bar, be the salt, cause season enhances your life and the lives that we encounter daily. Aliens to this life, spirits in human suits, Kevin Spacey.
And that's right. That's our man. That's the dude. That's Shaun Judah. That's Chances Are. And that's off the Lectures EP, man. And that stuff, let's just get old. That stuff's dope, son.
Word, son.
Dude.
Thank you.
Bruh,
That's really good.
Man, all right. So let's go back to a history lesson here. We was in Bosnia, and I've tattled around writing a few things here and there and stuff, but man, we went to this little outpost, we call it the Sticks of Bosnia. Woo. And we were set up out there, man. Me and Shaun, we shared a bunk, and it was day in, day out. Kung fu movies, everything. But it was writing, man. And I was watching him write, and he was writing this poetry, man. And he would spit this stuff out of his mouth, and I was like, that is insane. And I would dabble in it, but man, let's be real. That's not me. Okay. But man, his stuff was so real, so raw, and it influences you when you're around that. And people couldn't understand. I think there was a lot of people, because we were, let's set the stage for this. We were active duty military who were set up with a National Guard unit from Arkansas. You talk about some white country, maybe inbred.
And black country.
Oh, Lord, son, there was. Whoo. Man, it was.
There was a couple brothers. I didn't know what era they were from, man, but they kind of scared me, man.
But it was, and of course you got me, who is not your typical person. And then you got, man, Powell was out there with us, and you and Sims. Whoo, son, we were not the melting pot they were expecting. But I followed Shaun for so many years. I mean, watching him like literally grow in his craft. I remember way back in the day before it was Shaun Judah, it was Calico.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude, you
Wow.
can't live anything down on the show, man. But
You know what's funny? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I went through so many transformations of trying to figure out who I was. I mean, I was in my early to mid 20s at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still figuring things out. Now I was in my early 20s.
Yeah,
And I had no clue of who I was. I knew what my name was. I knew what I wanted to do, but I had no idea of what my purpose was. And I went through like 100 name changes, but the one thing always stayed the same was the message.
right.
And it was always a message of love, but sometimes love comes in the form of discipline. And, it's one thing, like I'm looking at my daughter now, but one thing that I had to get her to understand was I always love you. Just because I may speak harshly sometimes is because I love you enough to want you to get it now. And she said amen. And not have to, suffer through some of the stuff that me and your mom went through in our years.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's what love does. Love wants you to win at all costs, even if that cost means right now you may have some temporary discomfort or some pain. So I went through a lot of pain in those early years. So that's what you saw in me was me coming through my pain.
Right. And, kind of would like just fast forward up to today, I remember seeing the Chances Are video, and when everything started hitting, the Lectures EP started hitting, I was like, this is more than worth a listen because I've heard a lot of your stuff. Man, I remember, Justin, man, we used to sit in barracks rooms, and these dudes would get together and just like freestyle for like hours, dude. I'm like,
man.
And you
Those
talking
are the best.
You talking about some of the dopest things I've ever seen spoken. Man, these dudes were ridiculous. But like I said, let me talk about let's do this. Let's do like a nice little musical artist interview, Justin. Why don't we do that? We make it all official. So Shaun Judah, what with this album, the Lectures EP? What inspired you to go that route? I mean, naming it the Lectures, and the format that you had. What was your writing focus on it? What brought you to this level to do this EP and finally get it produced in this kind of format?
Well, really, the Lectures was accidental. Those tracks on there were the throwaways from the project that'll be released in March. Well, let's say April. But I didn't want to just throw them away. I wanted to do something with them. And the guy that I was working with, where I recorded, he was like, "Well, we put in a lot of work. Let's not just get rid of them because they didn't necessarily fit the full project, which I'll tell you about in a minute." But there were 2 songs on there called The Lectures, and it was with one of my buddies, Phoenix Wildfire. He's from New York and he lives here, and he's part of my crew, Slang Tongue Dialect, and it was just us, speaking. We would have these conversations daily. Now, you talk about Phoenix is actually Ethiopian, but grew up in Harlem. He lives here in Alabama. He's been 5%. He's been Nation of Islam. He's been a whole lot of different things. And one of the conversations we had, because he's a Christian. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, man, what, after you as a black man, as an Ethiopian, as an African, what would make you come to believe in Christianity and actually serve as I serve to some degree? And he said one of the most real things that I've experienced myself but never heard another say. And he said it was the experience. Mm. It was beyond religion. It was beyond the tales. There are mythological parts of the Bible. There are some things in there that it just feels good to tell these stories. But like I had already had. He told me it was the experience. Mm-hmm. And those experiences what we would talk about daily. And so we wrote a couple of the songs, and that's what initially came out. The first one was called The Lectures, and then the second one was The Lectures Part 2. Yeah. So in developing this project, didn't know what to do with it or call it, but then we started listening to other songs like Outstanding, and we decided, hey, it would fit to call it The Lectures because these are conversations that he and I would have, that I've had with other people, and that I have with myself daily. None of my music or poetry is for someone else. It all starts with me. If it has an impact on another's life, amen, I'm cool with that. But if I can't talk about the things going on with me, then I'm just, Drake. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But my music starts and ends with me. It starts with my family, and that's what I want to reflect as an almost 40-year-old MC. I can't be out there talking about guns and drugs and stuff that I'm not going to talk about anything I don't do or anything that's not glorifying God, but doesn't give the human perspective an opportunity to see something different. So I don't knock guys who talk about the dope game and all that, because a lot of them have experienced that, but we've become so used to that in rap music that they think that that's the only thing that's going to keep people going. Where you got, I would mention Kendrick Lamar, but I'm not going to go into it. But you got people like Odyssey, who I want you to check out. He's got a project called The Good Fight. I just heard it this year, and this dude is ridiculous. Like 12, 13 songs, no cussing. And it's dope. Dope.
Nice.
I don't cuss in none of my music. I cuss enough in my daily conversation. I don't want to take that, because I know it's a gift. I could say, yeah, I'm a great writer, but I know God gave it to me. One, I barely finished high school because I was smoking a lot of weed. I dropped out of college every time I went, only because, I was getting that GI money, GI Bill money. So it wasn't because I wanted to pursue that. But what God has given me was an opportunity to speak through gifts he gave me to people. So recently I spoke at a women and children's shelter in Atlanta. I recently spoke at my church. I do a lot of things in my church lately. And you're talking about, normally, 1,500 to 2,000 people on a Sunday get to hear me share what God's given me to share with them through poetry. So that's a gift. And like I said, I don't taint my gifts, because I understand where it comes from. When people start thinking, oh, I did this on my own, that's when you hear all those other music. You hear all that other nonsense.
Well, I tell you what, man, I do love, and King Phoenix on those tracks with you in the Lectures EP Part 1 and 2, dude, he is outstanding. I love his delivery and that flow he comes, but y'all mix well in that. It's, let's put it like this. I saw the link hit up, and I saw Chances Are that, I saw the video, listened to it, but then Run It Back came on. And that first track, man, I let play. Oh, dude. And I was like, it washes over you. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, you have to appreciate, and I'll say this, and a lot of people won't understand, but you have to appreciate the mindset of the hip hop culture to really let it, kind of like resonate in you. But then the Lectures EP, that Part 1 came on, and feeling that flow and feeling that it was so conversational. It was so, I don't know, I can't even bring a good word to it. It was just like, you put two people in a room who's kind of been like picking each other's mind, and now they're laying it out in this artistry format. So it was, again, I can't say enough props for it, man. It's good stuff.
I appreciate it. The funny thing is about both of those tracks, the Lectures 1 and 2, they were produced by a guy in Buenos Aires, Argentina. We've never spoken on the phone. We've just chatted some, back and forth on SoundCloud and Facebook. But I'm talking about the soul of hip-hop. Hip-hop is so global that people don't understand its impact. Justin was saying earlier, you had mentioned something, and I wanted to make sure I brought it up. But hip-hop's actual roots are in activism. Hip-hop started in the early 70s, right after they had the Bronx riots and wars going on with the gangs fighting against the police and themselves. And that's what spawned hip-hop. Hip-hop came, from a feeling, from people wanting to be able to creatively express themselves in a different way. The disco era was fading out. Yep. And you had these young black and Puerto Rican Dominicans in, the Bronx and, New York. And it spawned this culture that we all take part of, that now you see in movies, television, you hear it at church, it's in the doctor's office, in schools, it's everywhere. And it's become so infectious that it's taken people to a different place. And it all started because somebody wanted to change the situation in their neighborhood. Yeah. And that's the true root of hip hop. Now it's owned by the corporations, so all you get is Drake and Fetty Wap and crap like Young Thug.
See, that's something, that's something, that always whoops my butt, son, because I can't I can't stand these kids running around talking about like Drake and old Drake and Young Jeezy and I mean, they get all on these places and I'm like, man, you got to get to some roots. You got to get away from this, you know, this mainstream stuff, this commercialized media hype that honestly doesn't make anybody look good in the end. I mean, that's why I'm like, man, get out. I remember, oh my gosh, man, I remember, homeboy's name was Armstrong. You remember him? He was from New York, I think. No. You don't. No. That was before your time. That was back in Fort Polk, man. Way before your time. It was before I met you, man. There was this dude, and he lived up in New York, and it was back in the day. And he came back from leave, and he's like, man, because everybody knew I love the hip hop, I love the scene, and he brought back this tape, and he's like, man, put this cassette in your car right now and play it. And I had a little 93 Elantra with some like two 12-inch woofers in the back, and I threw it in, and dude, it was Wu-Tang's first release, and it was like the bootleg cassette out of the trunk off the streets, man. And when that played through the system, it wasn't like, okay, they're just hardcore, they got this gimmick, but I mean the root of that music, just like, and those types of things is what's always captured me in that hip hop scene. You know, people like, oh, I love hip hop, and I'm like, man, come back to today. Come back to some Poor Righteous Teachers, man. You know, you're talking about some dudes who are like Muslim, and I'm like a white kid in this country area listening to Poor Righteous Teachers rolling down the road, and they couldn't understand it because it was that feel behind, you know, everything that they were trying to get across, their emotions, and this is how they express themselves. And that, you know, I don't care who you are, whether it's hip hop, whether it's, you know, hardcore music, whether it's painting, poetry, whatever your artistry is, if you express it from your soul, deep from within you, I think that's something that God put in you, and that's you expressing God throughout you. That's just my mentality.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man, it's funny because a Wise Intellect, who was the rapper in Poor Righteous Teachers, he's still doing the same thing he was then. Not as far as the same rap, but I mean as far as trying to alert people to the wiles of the enemy. Mm-hmm. Because even as a Muslim, he's trying to get people to wake up and realize that the things that are going on ain't right, and you got to do something about it. But he was saying that in his music back then in the 80s. Yep. I remember when I first got my first listen to Wu-Tang, it was right after I graduated, and I moved to Louisville for the summer, you know, to be with my cousins. And I played that thing every day, mm-hmm. to the point where that's a lot of my kung fu influence in my movies came from. I wanted to know what it was these guys, you know, were experiencing that made them use all this kung fu stuff in their music, because it resonated with me. And it wasn't just, you know, the fact that, oh, this is dope, because it's not like the life I live, but it was tangible for me, because even though I wasn't selling dope or none of that stuff, I understood the struggle that they were dealing with, right. And what it was that they did to alleviate that. Some of those struggles was through the music. And that's just what music does, man. It connects so many of us. It's like me and Nabob. It's like I still talk to Zidell to this day.
For real?
And he and I are actually going to work on some music coming up this year, but it connected us. Sergeant Bello. Yeah. There were so many of us from different backgrounds and walks of life that hip hop connected us. Mm. And I mean, like I said, you look at the influence hip hop has right now. We're talking about this as we're talking about social injustice, as we're talking about church, because mm-hmm. it's all embodied. These same experiences we have daily as people, black people, white people, you know, whatever. We all have a common thing that grasps us, and most of the time it's music. Mm-hmm. And ours just happen to be hip-hop.
No, that's right. It's so let's do this. I got a question for you. All right. So okay. Slang tongue dialect. Dig into that for me.
Okay. You remember Tribe Called Quest, mm-hmm. and Jungle Brothers, mm-hmm. Leaders of the New School. They were their own groups, but together they came together as the native tongue.
Right.
And slang tongue dialect is nothing but a spin-off of, it's my own spin of that, because me and Phoenix were part of the same crew, but we're not a group. He's a solo artist, I'm a solo artist, but together we're slang tongue. There are slang tongue producers, slang tongue singers, slang tongue poets. It's just, you know, a conglomeration. And slang tongue means just that, slang tongue. Throw your words out there. Put it out there. You never know what's going to happen. And dialect is just the different factions, different dialects of how we speak it. Sometimes I'm doing poetry. Sometimes I'm doing a lecture. Sometimes I'm doing motivational speaking. Sometimes Phoenix is painting. Sometimes he's singing. Sometimes he's rapping. So it's just a different dialect that we select when we bang.
Word. I like that. Get to be who I was back in the day. Just word, man. That's good stuff, man. Dude, man, I can't tell you how much it is a privilege to have you on the show with us. And by all means, we've got to do this again and get together.
Absolutely.
We're getting to that point. But what I want to do, Shaun, is I want to give you the floor. I want you to put out, all the mediums that you're at, Facebook, websites, how they can get to you, how they can check out your music, whatever else you got going on, and give you that chance to put it out there, dude.
Yeah, and the new music that's coming out that I heard about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. The next, Keith, you'll love this. The full project is called Prima Vox Audit.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I did.
Oh, dude, and the crazy and the craziest thing is I was cleaning up. I just moved into this house that we just built, and I was cleaning through some things, and I found one of my old index cards with all my pens on it, and I found my little Prima Vox Audit 123rd signal things off my Class A's. And you just said that and it just clicked, dude. That's crazy. Why did you go with that?
Because when I first came to that unit and heard Prima Vox Audit, dude, I was floored. I mean, I had never, I took Latin in high school, so I knew prima meant first, but I wasn't sure about the others because I passed it with a D. But I was just floored because it was everything at that time. And we're talking, 13, 14 years ago,
right. Everything
that I had wanted to say, but it was already being said. So last year when I was writing and working on the music, I got a track, the title track, and I'm writing to it and I'm thinking, scratch that, throw that away. And it took me about a month, but then all of a sudden one day I heard Prima Vox Audit. I said, first voice heard. And now this isn't my first CD, but it's the first time I'm coming via hip hop with the energy and the level of experience I have now, not experience as an MC, but as a life experience. Mm-hmm. And I want this to be the first voice you hear. Not because I'm the first one to ever do it, anything like that, but this is the first time you're going to hear what's being said through somebody like me. You talk about a dude who's in March, it'll be 10 years I'll be clean from crack cocaine. I'm talking about all the things that I've dealt with in life. This will be the first time you'll hear some of these discussions through the music like you're ever going to hear it. So first voice heard. Shout out to 123rd Signal Battalion.
Who?
JJ Wall.
There it is, baby. Dude, that
Alpha
Gators, son. That unit was deep.
And too, man, because you all played such a pivotal role in my life, it was, it's hard to serve, in any branch of the armed forces. It's hard to do that. It's a decision you have to make, and you have to live or die with it. Mm-hmm. And it was a tribute to you and to Goody and to all those, Sergeant Bryant, to Powell, to all of y'all who poured into my life and made sure I was okay. Sergeant Everett, Sims, every last one of y'all meant something to me, and still do mean something to me. And it was my way to give back and say, I recognize you for your service. And some of this, in that CD is what y'all gave to me.
Well, dude, you don't know how much I'm looking forward to hearing that track, son. That whole setup, I can't wait to hear it. Man.
I'm actually going to email you the title track tonight. I'm going to send it to you just so you can have. I'm sending it as soon as we get off of here. I'm going to email it to you, and you can share it or whatever, even though it's not coming out for a while. But I think you'll appreciate what's being
said. Man, I'm a stingy person. I ain't letting nobody get a hold of that.
You'll keep it all to yourself, man.
You gotta let them hear it at least. And Kim.
Oh yeah,
so you gotta give it to them.
Hey, they're gonna hear it because that's supposed to be playing in the car. So,
but yeah, that's what that's about. On Facebook, Shaun Judah. Everything, all social media is Shaun Judah Yo, or just Shaun Judah. Instagram, SoundCloud. There's actually a slang tone dialect page. We just started up because I want to get moving forward with this. So we're a deep collective, and I want people to hear them as well. because in the music, man, you'll find ministry, man, you'll find victory, you'll find some defeat, but it all revolves around God. I don't call myself a Christian artist like I used to, not because I'm no longer a Christian, but because I don't want to put a title on what I'm doing, because I believe that it can reach all kinds of people if they're just willing to listen to it. I don't have one-hit wonder music. You're not going to listen to it and just love it automatically. It's going to take 2 and 3 listens, because the word says that it comes by hearing and hearing the word of God. So it means you got to hear it and hear it sometimes before you can digest it.
Word. I like it. So I'll tell you what, Shaun's going to get me all his stuff. It's going to be on our website, on the podcast section. You'll be able to pull up any link that he's got. It's all going to be tagged to him. It'll be on the Facebook page. So if you want to check it out, I want you to check it out. Dude, you don't know how good this makes me feel, man, to have you on the show and just to reminisce and talk about what's going on. But man, to hear how well you are doing, man, I love it.
Yeah, it's been fantastic getting to know you and getting to listen to you and all your insight. It's been really good. I appreciate it.
Thank you, all 3 of you, even our silent partner in the back. Thank you all.
Sorry. It was wonderful to hear you talk.
I mean, it all boils down to these are just our own experiences in life, but we don't live life alone. So, we got to share them. We got to find out the best way to, get through this thing, that we live through every day. So, man, I appreciate y'all having me.
Word, man. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get out. We'll be back in a minute with our final segment, whatever that looks like. And like I said, you can check out all the links to Shaun Judah on our podcast page over at forgettingwalls.com/podcast. So check us out on Facebook /forgettingwalls. Be back in a moment.
Yep.
Not reinventing the wheel, I'm replacing it. 10 tracks on my truck, coming face to face with this one-man army. I'll give your frame a facelift, about face off a cliff face, leap into the fallen skies. Giving my last bit of PH. UK's partners in other countries play me in the UK. L1C4 and I'm too red for UK. Most definitely high def. My music's on a Blu-ray. Hold your breath, blue face. Today's special blue play. Blue Ivy, baby face. Bluetooth and a sound wave. Beware of butane. Be safe or be shamed. Be hated, be shown space or be erased. Easy on the rah-rah. Pause on it, coup d'etat. Can't decipher blah blah. Here's your mercy, coup de grace. You the Francois Panther. Booth stalker, mum raw. Slang tongue dialect. We all route. Standing out on the outskirts. Outwork any outfit. Clocking in how much your mouth worth. 50 G's a verse, yeah, I doubt that. Back to earth, crash landing. Get a mouthful of jokers.
And we're back, and that was my man, my dude, my brother, Shaun Judah with Outstanding. And that was produced by Mufasa Nova. And that track for me, like I said, I was telling Shaun that was probably that is probably my favorite track off the Lectures EP. It's just good stuff, man.
So
I love
good.
it.
From what I've heard, I really love it.
Yeah.
Well, I know he said he's going to email me a track that's on the new project, and I am looking forward to that. I can't wait. I
think you're going to love it also because you'll be the only one who has it. Or
Word.
the only people on Earth who have it.
I love that, man. I'm special. I get special. But I tell you what, man, I enjoyed it. I mean, for me, of course, personally, I enjoyed it because he is, like I said in the beginning, he is a friend of mine who is near and dear to my heart. But being able to speak to him on that level, and to hear his perspective, and for other people to hear his perspective, I am so super stoked for it, man. And I can't wait to see what he does in the future because he's talented, man. He's gifted and he's soulful, and it just, you can just feel that message just being pronounced through every word he speaks. And
Absolutely.
And I hope people who listen to this continue to follow Shaun Judah. Check him out. Well, like I said, we'll have everything on our Facebook page and our website if you want to check him out. And if that's not your type of music, hey, that's cool. But I know everybody knows somebody who likes hip hop, so pass it on, man. Justin, what did you think about my boy Shaun Judah?
Dude, I loved him. He was great. He basically spoke my mind on a lot of things, which is one of the reasons I didn't speak as much. I just really enjoyed listening to him and gleaning wisdom from him. It was it was really good. It helped open my eyes to a few things, especially I think the stories that you guys told. I think that was really helpful and really eye-opening for me. Because I hear stories all the time, on the news and from, other people, but to hear it from, you and him and people that like I'm really close to, I don't know, it really opened my eyes to a lot of these things and how real these things are. Because let's be honest, I've never experienced a lot of those things. Like,
Right.
I've literally never been pulled over in my life for anything because
Wow.
I'm a straight-laced white boy. Like, honestly. And so a lot of these stories I think really helped, and I just really enjoyed listening to it.
I'm glad you was a part of that, because I mean that's for me, when you talk about racism, when you talk about racism in general, I've experienced it in a bunch of different ways.
Right.
I've experienced it within inside my own family. I mean, I'm not going to hold no punches. I mean, it's when you use certain terminologies and phrases to describe people, that's you're holding a prejudice, and that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's your prerogative. But you shouldn't, because it's hateful and it's hurtful, and it puts people in a light that they don't want to be seen in. And some people say, well, they deserve to be called this, that, or the other. Look how they act. And I'm like, but look how you're acting. You are no better in the sense how of you're speaking right now. If you say that about them, you were that as well, because you can't distance yourself from hate and fear. And that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But and like I said, I've experienced racism. Like my mother-in-law's Korean. We talked about it on the show we did a few episodes ago when we talked about racism. Right. My mother-in-law being Korean, my wife being half Korean. I've seen racism through that, and that's not black and white. That's that's just racism at its purest too. Mm-hmm. I've experienced it from other people, because I am white. Don't come over here, white boy. Green. I've been called gringo a few times. That was the weirdest thing. I'm like, I don't know if I should be offended or feel cool that you call me gringo. But then again, that's just my ignorance. But it's and I grew up in a time that was a little more prejudice heavy, racist heavy. I mean, the late 70s, early 80s, still a heavy amount of racism. I mean, we still have a heavy amount of racism today.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think there were less awareness, and less people trying to fight to end it. Less people coming together across the board, and I think there is a movement forward. But I also know this. I'm also it's not that I'm a pessimist, but I know that we'll never solve that issue, because I think Shaun on the show said it's something that comes from within. It's a sin issue. I mean, that's what it boils down to. It's a lack of loving somebody.
It's something from the heart.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it, man. I can't say enough, man. I enjoyed talking music with him. We didn't talk enough music with him.
Absolutely.
We got to get him back on. You know what? We'll get up with him and we'll do a hip hop music review and let him just have the stage on that, son, because he'd get through to you. Yeah. I love his outlook on where he thinks things are going, and I can't wait to hear and see what he's doing in the future. But for us, Justin, for me and you, minus everybody else, when we talk about Forgetting Walls, we got some stuff we got to start getting done in the future.
That's right.
And things are going to be changing. This segment here, we don't know what it's going to look like yet, people. Right now, we're just kind of finishing up. I feel so exhausted, like spiritually and emotionally, from what just happened for the past hour and 16 minutes, man.
But like in a good way.
Yeah, it's really good. It is really good. I mean, but being able to have that conversation with him and have him, join me in something that I'm that this is my creation. This is our artistry, even though it's not really art.
It is in its own way. It is. But
it's that thing that we decided to put out to do, and this is it is our artistry. We speak. I may not speak that well. I may speak a little fast. Maybe I need to slow down and have a nicer tone and more a little radio voice.
A little bit more mellow. Hey, mellow. Keith, how are you today?
I'm too high strung for that, man. I'm all over the place. But what we're looking forward to doing, we want to do a lot of collaborations, and this is my thing. If you're out there and you want to get up with us and do something on the show with us, we're so open, man. We want to have so many different people on the show. We're not closed off to celebrities. Matter of fact, we really don't have any celebrity. I mean, Shaun Judah, that's celebrity for us, And we had Peyton Jones on the show, and that was celebrity. Man, that was episode 20, man.
That was so long ago.
You've come so far, you guys.
And Peyton Jones was pretty big for us. I mean, to get Peyton Jones on the show, that was really big. And I don't know if we went downhill or uphill or stagnated since then, but man, it has been a ride for the past year. And
it has.
we music's one of our big things. As you can tell, I'm always talking about music. We play music on the show. We may be not doing it in the right format, but anyways, but we love music. And I think something we're going to get on board with is trying to do some more, music reviews, talk about music, a lot of stuff we like, we love the hardcore stuff and, those types of things. And I'm trying to work on some stuff with some other people. So we got some things coming up in the future that we're looking forward to. But for the next few weeks, just bear with us as we work out these kinks. We love that you listen to us. Share this with somebody. Let somebody know that, you found something you like. And if you don't like it and somebody who may like it, hey, share one with too. But we're going to do the old-fashioned way. Get up with us on Twitter. Get up with us on Facebook. ForgettingWalls.com. Everything we do is at Forgetting Walls. I mean, all our social media tags is Forgetting Walls. And most importantly, go over and check out the Facebook page. Leave us a comment. Give us a message. We'll get back with you. I mean, what else can I say? Hey, you know what? Let's try to do this, Justin.
Okay.
Let's really promote our Share Your Story button on our website.
Yes. So as many of you probably don't know, on our website, we have an option at the top right corner, and it says Share Your Story. And what you do is you just click on that little button up in the top. It actually has a circle around it, so it's highlighted there for you. So what you do is you click Share Your Story, and you have a nice little picture of my journal at the top. And you can put your just first name. You don't have to put a last name like that. Type your story, just anything that's on your heart, on your mind. Personal stories, anything like that. And you might be featured on the podcast. You can tell us if you want to be featured on the podcast or not. Like for us to actually read it or not. If you want to keep it confidential, we're totally legit about that.
Yeah,
I couldn't think of a better word, but yeah. So we love to hear from you. That's what we're all about. We want to hear what you guys have to say. Because that's what we're all about, is sharing each other's experiences. So yeah. Do it. In the words of Saint Shia LaBeouf, do it.
Just do it. And if you didn't catch all of what Justin's saying, he was just saying share your experiences, because that's what we need. And we had a little breakup.
Okay, sorry about that.
Just a little. It was breaking up a little bit, but it's all right because, hey, this is not perfect. I don't have $1 million to spend on internet connections between me and Justin. One day maybe.
Right.
One day maybe. I don't know. But we'll see. And for everything else, Jessica, thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thanks for having me. And I do hope that I get to come back, because I would absolutely love that.
Well, we would too. We would absolutely love for you to come back, because a little bit of life and a female perspective is always good on our show.
Absolutely.
I'm always willing to give my point of view. I do like to hear myself talk, so.
You didn't tonight, though.
First time jitters.
First time jitters. Well, I'll give you that. Justin?
Yes.
We've done this for a year.
Yes, we have.
And we've spared no expense of saying that.
No.
So I'm glad we have.
Me too.
And I look forward to another year of doing impossibly nothing with this podcast.
Absolutely.
But, there's a lot of things that we can look back on. We do have stuff like
De bandera del muchacho se la dio con dos amigos.
Justin.
You are ugly when you're angry.
You know it.
But.
And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt-action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs and the homosexuals. Amen.
See, Jessica, this is the part of the show where it just devolves into Keith pressing random sounds on his soundboard.
What are you talking about? Come on, man. You can't. look.
That was scary.
Because hey, Justin,
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
All right, I think we're done here.
Are you sure?
We better be.
Well, if you haven't learned anything tonight, if you listen to the show, and maybe you're listening to it in the morning, I don't know. But if you haven't learned anything, listen to the show, listen to the Meat and Potatoes, I want you to remember this, and we will never stop saying this. Always remember, people are not projects. They're people just like you and me. So love them like you love yourself, and hopefully you'll listen to us next week.
Thank you for listening to the Forgetting Walls podcast. If you're subscribing to us on iTunes, leave us a rating to help us spread the word about this podcast. Remember, the only way this works is if you share your story. So be sure to visit the website and leave us a comment at forgettingwalls.com, or find us on Twitter at forgettingwalls and facebook.com/forgettingwalls.
Peace! Don't think I forgot.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.